Hello there and welcome to the Bicycle Diaries. Seeing as we're now well and truly into the winter off season, I have to say that things are going rather well. Last week I did 5 rides, 2 of them indoors on the turbo trainer and the last 3 were actually out on the road. On Saturday I did one of my favourite routes up Bevis's Thumb, but I rode it with one of my cycling chums, a chap called Brian. Now that route is quite hilly and it was Brian's first time on that route and he did very well, and all in all we ended up doing about 44 kilometres. But unfortunately on my way home I was about 3 kilometres away and I punctured, so that was a bit of a pain to have to fix that by the side of the road. The good news though is that ride meant that I personally finished the Saris Winter Miles challenge, which was to do 4 hours of cycling over last week, and I managed to do that quite comfortably. In fact, I even went out again on Sunday and I put an extra hour and a half and another 40 kilometres in. Now that the challenge is over, I still have the Saris H3 trainer, so that is a great opportunity for me to do an FTP test, which will give me a kind of baseline for my power, and then I can go out and start training on power and try and improve that over the next few months. And then the plan is probably in the spring I'll do another FTP test and hopefully see how much it's gone up. Over the last few weeks I've been very interested in trying to increase my tolerance to carbon dioxide, and if you've been watching the vlogs you'll know that this is a subject that I've been talking about a fair bit recently. If you don't know what that is, well, essentially what happens is if you can increase your tolerance to carbon dioxide, there's just a little bit more oxygen in your blood and it makes work and exercise just that little bit more efficient. Now the way I'm trying to do this is very simple. It's just breathing through my nose as much as possible when I'm out cycling. When I'm on the turbo trainer at home, it's fairly easy and I can maintain nasal breathing until about 75–80% of my maximum heart rate, and I can do this quite comfortably. Although when I first tried it, it was a little bit difficult. I had that kind of almost panic response to try and start breathing again once I started going above about 65% of my maximum heart rate. But I managed to calm down and get through it, and then it was suddenly so much easier. However, when I'm out actually riding on the road, it's a fair bit more difficult. I can't really do it beyond about 70%, and a lot of that could be down to the fact that I do sweat a lot when I'm out on the road, and the sweat drips down my nose and it makes it very, very difficult to breathe through my nose. I think that's only one part of it. I think actually riding out on the road is very different from riding on a turbo trainer. Nevertheless though, I think it's still starting to give me some sort of benefits, because I can definitely feel that breathing, when I do start breathing through my mouth on the road, is a lot more efficient, and it just seems like I've got a lot more energy and I can just ride a little bit better.
I'll give you a good little test to check you're working at the right intensity. I'll be ready, team.
Many of you watching the channel will know that the first of the turbo trainer workouts that Chris and I have been working on was published last week, so it's now completely live on the channel and ready for you to use. You can do it if you've got a smart trainer, a dumb turbo trainer, a set of rollers, or even an exercise bike, and all you need to do is play the video, cycle along and follow Chris's instructions. Now we've made it deliberately fairly easy to follow, so you just need to know your percentages of your heart rate, and we've outlined those in a graphic on the side, and we've deliberately made it so that the cadences are just easy, medium or hard, because obviously everybody's cadences are very, very different. If you do the workout 2 or 3 times a week, you will improve your climbing ability and you will improve your muscular endurance. So when we start going back out and climbing things like hills and mountains in the spring, we'll be that much better at it. So let's just go over and have a look at my numbers. So this week I've cycled 161 kilometers. I've got 6 hours and 27 minutes of seat time, and I've climbed 1,222 meters. So that brings the year's total to 5,957 kilometers ridden. I've got 255 hours and 37 minutes of seat time, and I've climbed 59,179 meters. So if we go over to Strava and have a look at the fitness scores, on Monday it was 45, on Wednesday it was 45, on Thursday it was 46, Saturday it was 47, and then on Sunday it was 49. On Saturday, when Brian and I were cycling up Bevis's Thumb, we were having a little bit of a chat about the Strava fitness scores and discovered something fairly interesting. Essentially, we've got slightly different levels of fitness, and as you would imagine, our Strava fitness scores are equally different, although surprisingly not quite in the way that you would think, because the person with the slightly lower level of fitness has a much higher Strava fitness score. Now obviously that doesn't quite make sense, but only if you're comparing yourself to somebody else. As long as you're just keeping an eye on your own numbers, it should be fine. Now I know that the Strava fitness score is based on heart rate, the length of the ride that you've done, and the amount of calories that you've burnt, and obviously that's going to be very different for each and every single one of us. And as long as your numbers are going up, it should mean that your fitness is also going up, regardless of whether it's higher or lower than somebody else. I can definitely feel that my fitness is returning after last month's period of self-isolation. And when I was looking at this week's fitness scores, I thought, well, just for shits and giggles, let's go back over the year and find the time when it was at its highest. And ironically enough, that was when I was out in Tuscany riding an e-bike. Who says you can't get fit riding an e-bike? The forecast for this week is actually looking pretty good. So my plan is to go out and do as many rides as I can actually out on the road and achieve my targets of between 3 and 6 hours of cycling, so hopefully somewhere in the middle there. I've also got a Zoom call planned with Dr. Gary Palmer, who's my fitness coach friend, and during that call we'll be just discussing how it's all been going and hopefully setting some new goals for next month. Finally, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Penny Farthing for supporting the channel on Patreon. And if you're enjoying the channel, please have a look at the Patreon page. And if you think you'd like to support the channel as well, there's details about how you can do that. Thanks for watching.